everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Today we're going to be looking at something that I think is pretty relevant for just about everybody, especially these days.
Right.
We're talking about innovation,
Yes.
but not just any innovation.
Especially when you don't have a lot of cash to throw around.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at how to make innovation happen,
Right.
especially in the public sector.
Especially in the public sector.
And resources are tight.
Absolutely.
So, how can governments deliver those amazing services that we all need and want and deserve
We deserve, yeah.
without breaking the bank?
Right. It's the big question these days.
It is a huge question.
A perfect storm. Citizens expect the best technologies changing faster than ever.
Yeah.
And budgets are tighter than ever.
Tighter than ever.
So this is really the challenge of our time, I think.
It really is.
And luckily, we have some really smart folks thinking about this problem.
Yeah.
And we're looking at an excerpt today from a 2025 report from IdeaScale called Maximizing Value,
Okay.
which dives right into this.
Maximizing value. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that title.
It's a good one.
So we're not just talking about, patching potholes. We're
Right.
talking about rethinking the whole road system.
We're talking about systemic change.
Yeah.
Like, how can we really transform the way the governments work
Yeah.
to deliver better value for citizens?
Exactly. And this report is arguing that the old ways of doing things,
Your old ways.
that top-down innovation is just too slow,
It's too slow.
too risky,
Too risky.
too expensive these days.
And too bureaucratic, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like trying to steer a giant cruise ship through a tiny channel.
Yeah.
You need to be nimble. You need to be responsive.
You got to be able to turn on a dime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the report really calls for a full-blown paradigm shift,
Okay.
which I think is exciting
I like that.
because it's not just pointing out the problems. It's actually offering some really interesting potential solutions.
Okay, so let's unpack some of those solutions.
We have to get into it.
One of the words that the report uses that really jumped out at me was entrepreneurship,
Oh, yeah.
which is not a word that you hear every day.
Not your average everyday
We're
word.
not your average everyday word. Definitely not in government circles.
No.
So what is that all about?
Basically, it's saying, what if instead of waiting for orders from the top,
Okay.
we empower government employees to be the innovators themselves?
Okay.
So instead of waiting for somebody to tell you what to do,
Right.
what if you are empowered to identify problems,
Mm-hmm.
come up with solutions, and actually make those solutions happen?
So like a bottom-up approach.
Yeah, bottom-up approach to innovation.
Okay, I like that.
And the report gives some really cool examples of how this could look in practice.
Give me some examples.
So you could have dedicated innovation labs within government agencies
Okay.
where people can come together and brainstorm ideas.
Yeah.
You could have hackathons,
Ooh, hackathons.
or you get people from different departments
Yeah.
to collaborate and come up with solutions to specific challenges.
I like that.
And even internal funding programs
Okay.
where employees can pitch their ideas and get funding to bring those ideas to life.
That sounds really cool in theory.
Right.
I can already picture the mountains of paperwork
Right.
required to get anything new approved in a government agency.
Absolutely.
So how do you actually build a culture that embraces risk-taking
Right.
in such a hierarchical environment?
It's a big challenge.
It is a huge challenge.
And the report really emphasizes the role of leadership in all of this.
Okay.
It's not enough to just talk about innovation.
Yeah.
Leaders have to actively champion it.
Yeah.
They have to create that safe space for experimentation,
Mm-hmm.
provide the resources that employees need to actually pursue these ideas,
Yeah.
and even be willing to accept a few failures along the way.
Because we all know failures are going to
These
happen.
failures are inevitable.
Yeah.
That's part of the innovation process.
That's how we learn,
You're
right?
Exactly.
So it's kind of a top-down A&D, a bottom-up approach.
It's both. It has to be both.
You need leaders who are bought in,
Yeah,
and you need a workforce that feels empowered
absolutely.
to innovate.
Yeah, if you don't have both,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Okay, so we've talked about the internal stuff.
The internal dynamic.
But it's not just about what happens inside government buildings, right?
It's not just about the bureaucrats.
It's about the people that these services are meant to serve.
The citizens.
The citizen.
People who are actually using these services every day.
And what does this report say about that?
The report is crystal clear that citizen engagement
Okay.
is not an optional add-on.
Mm-hmm.
It is a core ingredient in successful innovation.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
Right.
Are we talking about endless town hall meetings?
I don't think so.
Or more online surveys that nobody fills out?
Yeah, no more surveys, please.
Yeah.
No, it's much more dynamic than that.
Okay.
So think about crowdsourcing platforms.
Okay.
where citizens can directly suggest ideas
Mm-hmm.
and vote on the ones they think are most important.
I like that.
Imagine design thinking workshops,
Ooh, I like that too.
where city planners are working side by side with residents
Mm-hmm.
to come up with solutions to specific neighborhood challenges.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a much more collaborative approach.
It's a much more collaborative approach.
Innovation.
And I think a much more effective one.
Absolutely.
Because you're getting that input from the people who are actually going to be using these services.
Exactly. You're tapping into the wisdom of the crowd.
You're tapping into the wisdom of the
You're
crowd.
getting those diverse perspectives.
And hopefully getting better solutions as a result.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got this great vision.
Yeah, a bold vision.
But we all know the reality of limited resources.
Right.
So how do governments actually make this kind of innovation happen without breaking the bank?
That is the million-dollar question.
No, it is the million-dollar question.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because this report digs into 3 specific strategies for cost-effective innovation.
All right.
And that's what we're going to explore next.
Okay, let's do it.
We're going to move beyond the theoretical
Okay.
and get into the nuts and bolts of how to make innovation happen in the real world.
Awesome. I'm ready.
Let's go.
All right, so let's hear it. What are these 3 magical strategies that are going to make all this happen?
Well, magic might be pushing it.
Okay.
There are definitely proven approaches that can make a big difference.
Okay.
And the first one is all about applying lean principles,
Lean principles. Okay.
which you might have heard of from the business world.
Yeah, lean. I always think of it as,
Yeah.
decluttering, basically.
Yeah, getting rid of all the clutter.
Getting rid of the clutter, focusing on what truly matters.
Exactly.
So how does that translate to something like a government agency?
Well, it's the same core idea, really. It's about eliminating waste, streamlining processes, and continuously improving.
Okay, so how would we see that play out in the real world?
So imagine
Mhm.
you're applying for a building permit, right?
Okay.
Instead of weeks of back and forth
Yeah.
with different departments,
Yeah.
you've got a single online portal
Okay.
that guides you through each step,
Mm-hmm.
automatically checks for compliance,
Nice.
and gets your decision faster.
So much better.
That's lean in action,
I like it.
cutting out all that unnecessary bureaucracy.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
But it's 2025. We've got AI.
Right.
We've got big data.
all that good stuff.
Where does all that tech fit into this picture of cost-effective innovation?
That's the second strategy the report dives into,
Okay.
digital transformation.
Digital transformation.
It's not just about having the cool tech.
Right.
It's about using it strategically
Yeah.
to make government services more efficient,
Hmm.
more effective, and more responsive to citizens' needs.
Give me an example. How can something like AI actually make a difference in people's lives?
Okay, so let's say a city is facing a heat wave.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just reacting after people start getting sick,
Right.
what if AI-powered systems
Okay.
were analyzing weather data, emergency calls,
Wow.
even social media,
To kind of get ahead of it.
to predict which neighborhoods are most at risk?
Yeah.
And then they could proactively send out alerts,
Yes.
open cooling centers, even dispatch mobile medical units
Wow, that's amazing.
to the most vulnerable areas.
So it's like moving from reactive government to preventative government.
Exactly.
That's huge.
It's a game changer.
Okay, but all this tech
Right.
requires serious expertise.
It does.
And I can't imagine every government agency
No,
has the budget to build their own AI teams from scratch.
you're hitting on a key point there.
Okay.
Not everything has to be built in-house.
Okay.
And that's where the report emphasizes the power of open innovation,
Open innovation.
which is the third strategy they highlight.
Okay, so it's basically acknowledging that great ideas
Yes.
exist outside of government.
Exactly.
Right.
Brilliant ideas. Cutting-edge tech often exist outside those government walls.
So tapping into universities' startups,
Absolutely.
nonprofits, anyone who can bring something new to the table.
Anyone who has that expertise
Yeah.
and fresh perspective.
Okay, so give me a real-world example of that.
So imagine a public-private partnership
Mm-hmm.
where a government agency collaborates with a tech startup
Okay.
to develop a new app
Yeah.
that makes it easier for seniors to access social services.
I like it.
Or imagine a city partnering with a local university
Okay.
to use their data analytics expertise
Mm-hmm.
to improve traffic flow and reduce congestion.
Okay, so we're sharing resources, we're sharing knowledge,
Exactly.
and hopefully getting much better outcomes.
And saving money in the process.
Yeah, because that's always the bottom line, especially when we're talking about public funds.
Absolutely.
Okay, so So this has all been incredibly exciting.
It is exciting stuff.
A lot of really cool ideas here.
Yeah, a lot of potential.
But at the end of the day, we need to know if it's actually working.
Right. We can't just assume.
Yeah, how do we measure the success of these innovative approaches?
That's a critical question.
Yeah,
Because it's not enough to just do things differently.
right.
We need to prove that these innovations are delivering real value.
Exactly.
And the report actually spends a good chunk of time talking about measurement.
Okay, so they don't just give us the what. They
Yeah.
also give us the how.
Exactly. They give us the tools
Okay.
to actually assess whether these innovations are working.
Okay, so what are we looking at?
So it's not just about cost savings,
Right.
which is obviously important,
Yeah.
but it's also about the broader impact
Okay.
on citizens and communities.
So beyond just balancing the budget, what kind of metrics are we talking about here?
So first, there's citizen satisfaction.
Citizen satisfaction.
Are people actually happy
Yeah.
with the services they're receiving?
Yeah.
Are they finding them easier to use, more accessible, more responsive to their needs?
Okay, so we can look at surveys,
Surveys,
feedback forms,
feedback forms,
maybe even social media sentiment
social media, listening, all of that
to get a sense
to
of.
really gauge how citizens are experiencing these changes.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, happy citizens are usually a good sign.
Usually a good indicator.
But beyond those individual experiences, we also need to know if these innovations are having a positive impact on the community as a whole, right?
Absolutely. And the report talks about a public impact score,
A public impact score.
which tries to capture those broader societal benefits.
Okay.
So think about things like improved health outcomes.
Okay.
Maybe a new telehealth program reduces hospital readmission rates,
That's a good one.
or crime prevention initiative leads to a decrease in crime rates in a particular neighborhood.
So it's about measuring those ripple effects
Exactly.
that go beyond just individual satisfaction.
Those broader community level impacts.
Okay, so we're looking at cost savings.
Yeah.
We're looking at citizen satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at broader community impact.
It's a holistic view.
It's a pretty holistic way to assess the value of these innovations.
Absolutely.
Anything else we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, there are a couple of other interesting metrics
Okay.
the report mentions.
Lay it on me.
One is the idea implementation rate.
The idea implementation rate.
Basically, how many of those brilliant ideas
Yeah.
from employees or citizens are actually getting put into action.
Okay.
So it's a good way to gauge whether an organization is truly walking the walk
I see.
when it comes to innovation.
So it's not just about generating ideas.
Right.
It's about having a system in place
It's about execution.
to actually make those ideas a reality.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have the classic return on investment, or ROI,
Ah, yes, the ROI.
which I think is something that everybody understands.
It's a universal language.
Yeah.
So this involves looking at the initial investment in an innovation project
Mm-hmm.
and comparing it to the long-term benefits,
Okay.
whether those are financial savings, improved service delivery, or positive community impact.
So it's really about taking that long-term view
Yeah,
and not just focusing on those upfront costs.
exactly. Because sometimes
Yeah.
an investment that seems expensive up front
Mm-hmm.
can actually save you a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
Yeah, and it's something that governments need to keep in mind
Okay.
as they're making these decisions about where to invest their resources.
So it sounds like measuring the success of innovation is a multifaceted undertaking.
It is.
And it goes way beyond simply looking at the bottom line.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that innovation is an investment in the future.
An investment in a better future
Yes.
for everyone.
And we need to use a variety of tools and metrics to make sure that investment is paying off for everyone.
Exactly.
Wow, this has been a really eye-opening look
It has.
at how governments can embrace innovation, even when those budgets are tight,
Especially when they are.
especially when they are.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here
Mm-hmm.
into maximizing value,
Yep.
what would you say is the biggest takeaway
The biggest takeaway,
for our listeners?
I think, for me, it's the idea that cost-effective innovation isn't about doing more with less. It's about working smarter.
Working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift in mindset,
Okay.
a commitment to collaboration,
Yeah.
and a willingness to embrace new technologies and approaches.
It's about challenging those old assumptions that government has to be slow and bureaucratic.
Right.
It's about recognizing the incredible potential
Yeah,
that exists when you empower employees,
absolutely.
when you engage citizens,
Hmm.
and when you really think outside the box.
Think outside the box.
This report has been great for laying the groundwork,
It has
but
been.
I'm already thinking about all the real-world examples
Oh, yeah.
that we could explore.
So many cool things happening out there.
Imagine diving into a case study
Yeah.
of a city that completely transformed its public transportation system using some AI-powered optimization.
That would be fascinating.
Or a rural community that leverages telehealth to provide healthcare access to everyone.
Oh, yeah. Telehealth is a game changer.
I'm so there.
Let's do it.
We could spend hours
Hours now.
talking about the amazing things that are already happening
It's really inspiring.
in the world of public sector innovation.
It is.
But before we get carried away planning our next deep dive,
Right.
I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge.
Ooh, challenge. I like it.
Imagine you have the opportunity
Okay.
to implement one innovative solution
Mm-hmm.
in your community,
Okay.
something that tackles a pressing issue,
Yeah.
using the strategies that we've talked about today.
I love it.
What would it be?
What would it be?
That's a great question to think about
It is.
because it really underscores that innovation
Yeah.
isn't just the responsibility of government agencies.
No, it's not.
It's something that we can all be a part of.
We all have a role to play.
We all have the power to identify problems,
Mm-hmm.
come up with creative solutions,
Absolutely.
and advocate for change in our communities.
We can all be innovators
We can all be innovators.
in our own way.
So true, whether it's improving public safety,
Yeah.
making transportation more sustainable,
Mm.
bridging the digital divide.
Important stuff.
There are countless opportunities to make a difference.
Countless opportunities.
So listeners, keep those innovative ideas flowing.
Keep them coming.
And until next time,
Yes.
keep exploring, keep learning,
Keep
and
innovating.
keep diving deep.
Deep dive.